Jacob lived a simple life. He worked the land, his calloused hands tending to rows of corn and beans. His days were filled with the rhythm of the earth, the sunrise his alarm, the sunset his clock. Jacob's wife Sarah was his anchor. They shared a love as deep as the roots of the old oak tree in their yard. Their evenings were spent on their porch swing watching fireflies dance in the twilight. Sundays were for church. The old church, with its stained glass windows and creaking floorboards, was their sanctuary. Little did he know a storm was brewing, one that would test the very core of his being. The storm came in the form of Ezra, a man new to their town. He was brash and loud, a stark contrast to Jacob's quiet demeanour. Ezra, with his slicked-back hair and charming smile, quickly gained the town's favour. Their paths crossed over a land dispute. Ezra, driven by greed, played dirty. He spread lies, turned neighbours against Jacob, and ultimately took the land that was rightfully Jacob's. The betrayal cut deep. Jacob withdrew, unable to bear Ezra's triumphant smirk or hear his name whispered in the market. His world, once painted in warm hues of trust and kindness, now seemed shrouded in shadows of doubt and pain. Sunday came, a day Jacob now dreaded. The church, once a place of solace, felt like a battleground. He sat stiffly in the pew, his heart heavy. The preacher spoke of love and forgiveness. He quoted Luke chapter 6, verse 28, "Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you." The words struck Jacob like a bolt of lightning. How could he possibly bless Ezra, the man who had wronged him so deeply? The thought of praying for Ezra felt like swallowing a stone. Yet the preacher's words lingered, a persistent whisper in the cacophony of his anger. One cool evening, as Jacob sat on his porch swing, he made a decision. He would try to pray for Ezra, not because Ezra deserved it, but because Jacob needed to find peace. The first prayers were hesitant, choked with unspoken anger. But each day, as Jacob forced himself to voice the words, something shifted within him. The bitterness, though still present, began to lose its sharp edge. He started noticing the good in Ezra. The change in Jacob was subtle, like the gradual thawing of a frozen river. He began to find joy again in the simple things, the warmth of the sun, the laughter of children, the love in Sarah's eyes. Then came the storm, a torrential downpour that threatened to flood the valley. Jacob, ever prepared, secured his barn and livestock, but his gaze drifted towards Ezra's farm, knowing the newcomer's lack of experience. He saw Ezra struggling, his face etched with panic as the rising waters threatened to engulf his crops. Without a second thought, Jacob grabbed his tools and ran towards Ezra's farm. They worked tirelessly side by side, saving what they could from the relentless water. In the shared struggle against the storm, they found common ground, a silent understanding passing between them. The storm passed, leaving behind the sweet scent of wet earth and a newfound hope in its wake. Jacob, exhausted but strangely exhilarated, stood shoulder to shoulder with Ezra, surveying the salvaged fields. "Thank you," Ezra said, his voice hoarse with fatigue. It was the first time Ezra had acknowledged Jacob since the land dispute. Jacob simply nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. He had found something far greater, the freedom that came with forgiveness. From that day forward, things were different. A tentative friendship bloomed between Jacob and Ezra, built on shared experiences and mutual respect. The transformation in Jacob was evident. The anger that had clouded his eyes was gone, replaced by a quiet peace. He had learned a powerful lesson, one that transcended the boundaries of his small town and the betrayal he had endured. By blessing Ezra, by praying for him, Jacob had not only freed Ezra from the prison of his wrongdoing, but had liberated himself from the shackles of his own bitterness. The power of love, Jacob realized, was not in its absence of pain, but in its ability to heal even the deepest wounds. It was in choosing forgiveness over resentment, in seeing the good in others, even when it was hard to find. Jacob's journey was a testament to the transformative power of blessing.